Thank you, Maureen. And Forward 4 continues now with the Automation for Every Employee panel discussion. Would you please welcome our moderator and UiPath's Senior Vice President of Product, it's Brandon Knott.
Hi, everybody. My name is Brandon Knott. I'm a product leader here at UiPath, and I focus on our Engage pillar. So I am most interested in how people and robots are working together. And today, I couldn't be more humbled and more delighted to welcome 3 of our customers onto the stage to talk about how they're engaging with automation. We're going to focus on 2 different personas. The first is the user. These are people, of course, that are using automation in their daily lives. They're running automations to help with their job, to give them back time. The second is our citizen developer. And these folks are often building automations for themselves, for their departments. One of my favorite quotes as of recently was one of our customers saying, they used to end meetings with action items, now they end meetings by building robots. So today, we're going to talk about the specific stories, how we're enabling these people. And so without further ado, please help me in welcoming our guests, and let's get right into it. So first off, thank you so much for being here. It's not only great to see you again, but to also share your stories in this context. Let's do some brief introductions and then get right into the questions. Sydney, would you lead us off?
Absolutely. I am excited to be here. My name is Sydney Madison Prescott, and I am the Global Head of Intelligent Automation at Spotify, working on our robotic process automation, machine learning, and artificial intelligence towers.
Brandon, thank you so much for having me. Raj Journey from Wells Fargo. My team leads efforts for robotics, intelligent automation, process mining, lightweight workflow. So we Sundras platforms, engineer them, scale them, show how delivery is done, lay out a strong governance and design authority around it, and also extend that capability for federations. We'll talk about it more. So look forward for the conversation today.
Thank you, Brandon, and glad to be here. My name is Sundras Journey. I'm the Chief Digital Officer at Firstsource. We're a business process outsourcing company focused on niche domains. My role is about enabling the enterprise to start thinking automation grounds up so that we can help our customers in their journey of digital transformation.
Thank you. So one of the things that I find most interesting are there are common themes, there's common threads across these experiences, but each of you have experienced automation, have implemented automation, and empowered your users uniquely. So I want to try and both find some of those common threads as well as how each of you have approached it. So Sydney, for you, tell us a little bit about your journey, but also your motivations for getting into attended automation.
Absolutely. So the motivation came from a very simple premise, which is how can we augment the Spotifyers that are day in and day out helping to maintain and really innovate on our platform. And so through that approach, we really wanted to take a look at, when we look at our accountants, when we look at our team that's running internal audit, how can we empower them and how can we augment their ability to actually really get into the nitty-gritty of what we do? And more importantly, how can we add additional value to the work that they're doing? And so this premise really unfolded in a way where we said, okay, let's actually look at citizen development and let's look at taking an accountant and upskilling them. And in that upskilling, we are empowering that accountant with skills that can further their career, but also we're empowering them to really drive Spotify in a new direction. And so we started our citizen development program in a very unique way, remote, in the middle of the pandemic. We are very proud now to say that we have a very robust cohort of citizen developers. We upskill them in boot camps. It takes about 5 days, and by the 5th day, we have all of our team members that are interested actually building robots. So it's been very exciting to see, and now we're starting to engage in power users, and it's been an incredible journey just to see that someone who is skilled in a specific area of the business now is also augmented with these additional talents in terms of automation, and really thinking about, how can we further Spotify by addressing use cases in a different way.
Excellent. Now, Raj, here's a very different take on that getting started story. You are no stranger to automation. You started with unattended, moved into attended. What's that journey been like over time?
Yeah. But first of all, 5 days onboarding is impressive. I think, obviously, we look at multiple factors, like whether it could be an ROI or risk avoidance, or multiple things people look at, like when we are looking at this. But as in large enterprise, definitely we have to look at what's the viability of this automation program. Then we looked at focusing more on how do I first centrally become so strong that I can enable my federations as we go. Because once the central team has built a very strong foundation, built this very nice governance, controls, and risk framework, then, and we have shown the enterprise how delivery is done, best practices, guidelines around it. Then we started to scale it across different federations. Then we saw the different maturity level, because they're closer to their line of business, and they understand their applications well. So we saw a very good maturity in the federation teams. Now the third bucket of it is some groups wanted to do, my entire team learn it? That's where the citizen-led model comes in. And we have seen some success there. I think we have been a little cautious on enabling it to everyone. I think because we have a mechanism of how we enable citizen-led model in a lower environment and then scale it, right? So we have done this for some technology teams who wanted to do as an entire team, some business teams, because we saw that capability in there. The power users concept was there. So we have a blend of central team delivering it, federations delivering it, some areas, even citizen-led models being very successful there.
Excellent. Sundra, again, yet another variation, yet another way to get started and to start empowering people. What's your journey been like?
Yeah, our theme is digital first, digital now, right? And we started double-click into, okay, what does that actually mean? What does it mean for our customers, right? We're a business process outsourcing company, right? So we work from already low-cost locations, right? So how do we elevate that from just labor arbitrage and cost savings to the next level? And an critical piece of that puzzle to solve that was to enable our people to start thinking automation first. If everybody, if 30,000 Firstsources start thinking that, hey, this is a job that can be automated, why am I doing it manually? Then it changes the way we start doing business with our customers. So from that point of view, we started attacking it in 2 ways. Number one, can we train people on automation, right? That's the technology piece. But then the biggest gap in all of the technology training is we forget the fact that it's a mindset game, right? So we started putting together very well-structured approach to how do we change the mindset of people so that they start thinking automation is not a nice to have, but it's integral to my job. And that started our citizen development journey. So in many ways, we are not trying to create 30,000 citizen developers. We are creating 30,000 people that can think automation first. That's a big shift in the way we start doing business.
I want to talk about that shift. Sorry, Raj, did you have I want to talk about that shift because when I joined UiPath, I joined a technology company, and I was going to make technology. But about 2 years ago, it became really clear to me, this isn't a technology story. This is a human story. This is a people story. So I want to dig into your last comment a little bit. When you're thinking about that mindset, you don't just walk in one day and say, you're all automation first thinkers. What was the process? What were some of the tactics that you used to change the way that people are thinking?
Yeah. So about 40% of our business is contact center business, right? And what, if anything, that the pandemic has taught us, right? It's, you know, the value of human interaction has become much more important. You know, we talk to people on Zoom that we've not spoken to for 25 years, at least me, right? So we figured that if we are able to use technology and enable our people to, in such a way that the chores of the job are taken away, then they talk to our customers with empathy. So how can we make that the most prime piece? And we put together, I'm a very firm believer of the BJ Fogg behavior model. The BJ Fogg behavior model says, for any behavior and hence mindset to change, you look at motivation, you look at ability, and you look at prompts. So the motivation piece is what is typically not hit. You look at rewards, etc. The ability is the UiPath training. So for motivation, we created the concept of tiny habits, created cohorts, mentoring, and we said, every day can you journal? We created our own app in partnership with UiPath. We put it on our automation hub, our portal, and people started slowly entering every day what ideas they have, what they are doing. And the beauty is, you know, it's like fire, right? One idea, hey, I can expand on that. I can expand on that. And what is starting as a task automation very soon becomes actual process automation. Keep in mind, these are not the people that are developing the process automation. They're developing the puzzle, pieces of the puzzle, and the COE puts the governance to bring it all together and make it robust so that it can be implemented. But the BJ Fogg behavior model and its practical implementation is where we spent a lot of time. So unlike Sydney, 5 days, you know, I wish I could do that, but for us, it's a 15-week program. And through the 15 weeks, they develop multiple bots, and they mature through this process, and then they graduate. That's the approach that we've taken. So.
It's amazing. Amazing. So Raj, let's go back to the automation user here. Right? We've talked about the citizen developer, different tactics, different strategies for training them up. Can you share with us an example of one of the departments that's using attended automation, how that process is started, and what that looks like on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, excellent. I'd like to share one of the automations that you touched on, contact centers. So let me share a large use case. Typically, whenever all of us, like now, anyone reaches the contact center, the agent is talking to the person or individual, and then after that, like they have a lot of after-call notes to be prepared, and then they have certain codes and notes to be updated. So this is one of the automation, like where in the consumer banking side, like we have looked at where a customer calls an agent. So we made the bots to select multiple codes, like as they are speaking, instead of typing notes, just select a code, and then the bot takes care of the notes and then summarizes it and takes it off, updating the final system too. Again, we are talking of these automations. Some are in hundreds, some are in thousands. The user base can be in thousands. Now next, if I expand a little bit on the framework aspect of it. Now, I look at this like at two aspects. Like one is pushing the bot to the individual assisted user to say, can I on demand bring this automation whenever I need it? That's one way of dealing with it. But of late, we have started to think of a personal assistant concept, bringing it as a common framework on our Teamworks or any portal that you may have. So we give a catalog of services or automations that they can individually pull and then start leveraging what would I need as a business user on a day-to-day basis, and then leverage them for day-to-day operations. The third aspect is the training aspect. So especially when you're dealing with like thousands of users, like, you know, imagine a process with 5,000 users. So you can't have a methodology because they were already pre-trained with the method whenever changes happen to them. So we train the trainer concept. So we go back to the trainer who trains typically this large group, and then we help them build the operating model and the operations handbook. And then they change their operating SOPs, like which is their operating procedure documents. So then these trainers in turn train the users in batches and then bring them on board. Because when you are thinking of thousands, so this is a good methodology that has worked for us.
That's great. Now, there's been a number of times that the 5-day boot camp has been brought up. Can you tell us a little bit more about the 5-day boot camp and what follows?
Absolutely. So as we started thinking through how do we really enable, as I said, automation first mindset, we really were interested in how do we make sure that we make the training aspect as efficient as possible. And this was a very central concept for us as we started thinking through how do we really enable this technology within all of our business users. And so the first thought that we had was it has to be efficient. And so we really have to hone in on making the training as concise, as condensed, but also as thorough as possible, which is a difficult task. So as we started walking through this concept, we said, okay, can we actually walk through different modules of training, and can we condense what you really need to know, give you just enough to be dangerous, so to speak, in terms of being, again, an accountant who is looking at using UiPath to start automating some of your tasks. And so we broke up the training into different modules, and we said you can take 4.5 hours each day, and you have to be dedicated to this training. You will have dedicated coaches, which are our COE developers, and we affectionately call them bot mentors, and they will guide you through this process of not only understanding what is RPA, but also what is a justifiable use case for RPA. And then also, when I start walking through Studio, what does that mean, right? What am I looking at? How do I understand selectors? How do I understand how to interface with Excel, Word documents, PowerPoint? How do I know how to send out emails? And so through the training, the citizen developers learn very condensed modules that make them dangerous enough to get all of their tasks done. And then we follow up with a more concise training specifically around the Spotify, I'll say, configurations and policies. So that is the Beyond the Boot Camp. So we call our training bot boot camps. And through the bot boot camp, through the Beyond the Boot Camp, you learn how to use UiPath. You learn what is RPA, what's a great use case. And then you also learn, okay, what are the policies that I have to follow as a Spotify employee as I engage in this journey of upskilling myself, but also really contributing to my team now as a citizen developer or a consumer of automations. Yes.
You know, I kind of like the just enough to be dangerous, because we've spent a lot of time putting the governance in the product to allow you to move quickly, to allow you to scale up without crossing those lines that are either policy or system limitations. So that's actually really refreshing to hear. Question for everybody. If I tally up the questions that I get from customers, one of the top 3 is always, how do I select the right people, either as users or citizen developers, the right department, where do I start? Curious, what have you experienced, good or bad, and what would you recommend to the folks that have that question?
Sure. One of the things that we've learned is, we tend to underestimate people, right? I mean, it comes naturally to us because, you make decisions before you know about people. But what we did is, obviously, when we said you can nominate yourself, there were like 600 people that nominated themselves for the first batch. So the typical approach, let's do an evaluation. So we did, a technical evaluation, an analytical evaluation. But one of the key decisions we made was, we took 30% of the top performers, we took 30% of the middle performers, and we took 30% of the lower performers. Because we're very clear that we don't know who's good at doing this, right? We've not done it before. And lo and behold, that approach, the first person to create a bot was somebody from HR. Her name is Lavanya. She actually created a bot. It used to take 3 hours for her to create this rewards and recognition presentation, picking up information, and the bot actually reduced that to 5 minutes, right? First person to create a bot. So the approach of selection not based on just one aspect of capability, broadening that, I think was a big learning for us. right? In the process of selecting people and enabling them, right?
In my view, these power users who we are thinking or has to be done a little more carefully, because if you just want a citizen-led model to be enabled for a group, there's a lot of interest and anxiety initially. It dies down if they don't have enough things to work on. Then again, if you're looking for the best SMEs to be those power users, sometimes they may not be available because they are the core for that business. So the business will have to make that investment. So what I saw was, if the team is really showing interest, and we have seen that in some platform support functions, like they've come forward, say, can my entire team be trained? And we took them through the process. They sustained well because they have so many problems to fix, or manual things that they work on, day-to-day things, incident management or change requests or many other things. But when it comes to the business, you have to be careful about, do they really have that inclination? And do they really have that constant pipeline that will keep them busy and engaged?
Yeah, I think that's a great call out in terms of, is there enough engagement? Are there enough use cases? Is there viability within this particular business unit to carry this forward? And also just the concept of the leadership engagement. I think that's absolutely critical. What we have noticed at Spotify is in terms of the business units that are the most engaged and have the most stakeholders that are really interested in training up, the leadership is heavily involved. So they really are pushing from that top-down approach, that this is something that's great. They're encouraging this. They're talking about, ways to further enhance your career through being a citizen developer and upskilling yourself in the technology. And that empowers then your citizen developers to really feel as if, oh wow, there's a stake in this, my leadership believes in this, I believe in this, I'm really furthering my career, I'm also helping my team members, right? I'm helping to provide value. And so that, I think, is the central tenet, which is, it's an approach where it's not only individual gains that are made, but it really is team gains that are made, and then at an enterprise level, it's talking about, we are fundamentally changing what it means to be an employee at work at our firm.
So there was a little thread there that I want to pull on, which is around success and how you determine success. And another common theme just within the last few days here is not only talking about ROI, but one of the more common things was looking at retention, looking at the impact on customers, on your customers. So when you think about success now, how do you all start to define that?
I can start. Every automation we look at, the success is, maybe you'll start off early on with a viability assessment to see this is a risk avoidance case, or this is a ROI use case. But you constantly keep measuring to see, is that really continuing on? But again, that's only to see when your automation is deployed and business gets it. But the real success is when your metrics start telling you a story as a trend line. Let's say an automation is deployed and then you see you have 50 bots running for a business process. What are your metrics telling me? How many transactions have I closed? What is the AHT I have saved for the particular business? And then as a trending, how many hours overall did I save with those particular bots? That story is a lot more important to me as a trend line. So to tell me if the bot is really successful. Because just because we have built it, it doesn't make sense to maintain it and as an ongoing thing. Success is when business team calls us back and says, I'll tell you another example, shifting. When sometimes these bots go down, the business really calls us back and says, I need this bot up now.
That's a good sign.
That tells me that they're really living for that particular bot. So that day, I know that bot shouldn't have gone down, but makes me feel good that these are real value to businesses on a day-to-day basis.
Hypothetically. Right?
Hypothetically, yes.
What does success look like for you?
For us, there are two aspects. One is the measurement criteria around hours saved, cost savings, efficiency, effectiveness. But what we've taken is a very conscious approach to say, don't measure success based on your initial evaluations, right? Because we've seen over the last 1 year that what starts as small tends to grow. And success is not as much about the number of bots created, but the number of bots consumed. So how do you start rewarding consumption as much as you reward creation? And then the second piece of that puzzle is, it's the citizen developers that are developing these bots. They become ambassadors, and some of them graduate to become power developers, maybe 10% of them. But the key is the leadership team becomes believers. So the business unit leader starts to believe that there is value in this. We can actually make a significant impact on our bottom line. We can make an impact on our top line, and we can help our customers by delivering more efficiently. And then the third piece is, it's amazing. In an ecosystem where we all know it's very difficult to retain people because it's such a heavy demand market, we don't see people quitting if they are in this program. We don't see them even talking about it. They're happy. Whether they're remote, whether they're in office, retention and employee engagement is a major, major positive factor when you embark on this program. So.
And I think that's a great call out, because when we talk about employee satisfaction, this is a critical component of what we're doing within our citizen development program at Spotify, which is how do we take these incredibly talented individuals that are, rock stars in, FP&A, rock stars in, treasury or tax, and how do we embolden them with this training? And I will say success in our I'll say, kind of experience really is when we get to day 5 of the notorious 5-day boot camp, and we see that it's the excitement of someone that has, for the first time, learned what robotic process automation is, and for the first time, they are approaching challenging business problems that they may have thought were impossible. And I always jokingly call this like the art of the impossible, which is what are these things that you wish that you could solve and you just say, it's impossible, I could never solve this. And we see this excitement and this passion on day 5. We ask everyone at the end of the boot camp to demo what they've built within the 5 days. And it's just incredible to see, individuals from internal audit, individuals from treasury, individuals from R2R, P2P in our accounting team. They're so excited about what they've been able to ingest from a knowledge standpoint in as little as 5 days. And that excitement accelerates their ability to then go out into their teams and really become evangelists for the upskilling and the taking it to the next level if you want to become a power user. So I think it is very much, as Sundras said, it's very much about the employee satisfaction, because that really does permeate throughout your enterprise in terms of enablement of going faster and really being best of breed in your industry.
Love that. I love the art of the impossible. Last question, and this will be the speed round as we're closing in here. I was given a gift not that long ago when my daughter was very nervous to jump off a diving board, and my brother said, well, you can't be brave unless you're first afraid. And she really resonated with her. And I feel like in these stories, we're talking about all these successes, but maybe also you don't get to success without also having made some stumbles. So what's a challenge that you've seen, and how did you overcome it?
I thought we had only like 3-4 minutes.
I intentionally made this very...
That could take the whole day, but honestly, I think while challenges do exist in this place, first thing is finding those right opportunities, right? I think the best SMEs to tell your story for that. Now, process mining is helping to overcome that. Can you tell a story from the different users? So again, there are different complications with underlying applications, multi-factor authentications, and applications are scaling to these levels every day. So definitely you have to think of a much different governance when you're dealing with multiple factor authentication things. So I want to give an opportunity for them to cover something in the last minute.
So I think the technology challenge is, it's a laundry list. You keep learning. because it could be an infra issue here, it could be technology issue, and those are typically you learn it once and then you solve it and you don't face it again. The real challenge is how do you keep this going through that 15-week period so that the morale doesn't go down? Because there are going to be people that try this out 3-4 times and they feel like, oh my God, this is not me, right? And that it's almost like quicksand. So how do you prevent it right there and make sure that it doesn't impact the overall program, right? We've tried a few things and we've hit upon a couple of ideas that worked, but I think keeping your eyes and ears open to see what is not going well and immediately picking up on it and acting is a big learning for us. Right?
Yes, I would completely agree with that. What is going well, constantly iterating. We've done so many iterations of the boot camp and really taking feedback. And one of the things that we learned very early on is we don't know what we don't know. So we need to really take advantage of the feedback that we can get directly from the citizen developers. And so that was a huge learning for us because it said, oh, we're going to structure it like this. And as we started doing engagement surveys, we quickly realized, wow, the things that we built in that we thought were going to be extremely beneficial, maybe not so much. So taking the feedback and really iterating on your initial concept is something that we learned over time.
That's great. Thank you again. I can't underscore how important it is to share these stories, to communicate, to share with the broader community your experiences. Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.